Awareness of halal principles for the production within the UK food industry. And also joining us from Westminster in our studios there is Philip Davis, the MP, who attempted to introduce a bill for compulsory labelling of halal and kosher meat. Thanks to both of you for your time. Philip Davis, to you first of all. I'll talk more specifically about labelling in a moment, but broadly this issue, do you think people are really concerned about it?
Yeah, lots of people are concerned about it. There are many people, clearly Muslims and Jews, who want to buy halal and kosher meat, and they should be free to do so. But equally, there's quite a lot of people who don't, for various reasons. And whilst it's important that people know that something's halal or kosher, for those people who want it, for those people who don't want to buy it, it's equally important that they know it is too, so they can make an informed choice. And I think there's widespread concern about this issue.
There are people concerned about animal welfare issues. Where are you on that?
Well, for me, it's about people making an informed choice. It's not just about animal welfare, I might add.
But on that issue, where are you?
There are other religions, for example, who don't like the blessing that's given to halal meat and don't want to buy it for that reason. So it's not just about animal welfare. But my point is that people should be able to make an informed choice. And then it will be up to customer demand, and that retailers should be able to respond to that customer demand. At the moment, people can't make any informed choice because they've got no idea at all what they're buying.
Sakib Mohammed, what proportion of meat that is sold as halal meat comes from animals that have not been pre-stunned before they're actually killed?
Honestly speaking, it's about not more than 10%. It's 90% of halal meat, which is either labelled or not labelled as such, is actually pre-stunned. And that stunning is actually it's not designed to kill the animal or bird, but it's reversible, recoverable stunning that we can refer it to. But this is about 90%, and it is certified.
But 10%, the animals will have their throats cut without any sort of stunning. Is that cruel?
No, we don't think so. It all depends what sort of stunning is employed, or sort of what sort of species we are talking about. If we talk about chicken, the only welfare concern we can think of is decapitation, and it is the concern of handling while they are cutting the throat on. And in terms of lamb and sheep, if you apply the correct cut, you can significantly reduce suffering and pain. But you cannot call it completely inhumane. Yeah, in cattle and cow, there might be a different story, but we don't certify that.
I'll come back to Philip Davis in a moment, but do you think that consumers should be told either way in terms of whether their meat is halal meat or not?
The consumer should be told whether their meat is stunned or not stunned, because I don't see any substance in knowing whether it is halal or kosher, because we have been, nation is eating halal meat anyway. The kebab shop, everyone goes to the kebab shop, and that kebab shop displays halal sign outside. So I don't see any reason why halal and kosher should be labelled, but stunned and non-stunned should be labelled, because now the concern is around animal welfare. So people are more talking about animal welfare than ritual slaughter, because ritual slaughter, they think that all ritual slaughter is not stunned, but there is stunning involved in ritual slaughter as well.
Philip Davis, you tried to get this onto the statute books a couple of years ago. You got pretty close, but you failed. Is this something that you had anticipated? Is that why you attempted it a couple of years back?
Well, I was aware in my constituency of quite a concern about it, that people were going into outlets like Subway, for example, expecting that it wouldn't be halal meat, and then finding out subsequently that it was. And I think over the last 2 years, this particular issue has become much more concern to more people. And that's why today I've tabled an amendment to the Consumer Rights Bill, which is being debated in Parliament next Tuesday, which again would provide for the compulsory labelling of all halal and kosher meat at the point of sale, so that consumers can make an informed choice about whether they want to buy it or whether they don't want to buy it.
And what would you actually have on that label? Because you just heard Sakib Mohammed say he didn't think there was any need to actually identify meat as halal or not halal meat.
Well, I'm not sure it's a matter for him to decide. It's for consumers to decide, and I'm sure that Muslims would be outraged if there was no way of them knowing whether the meat they were buying was halal or not, and it was just pot luck as to whether you got halal meat or not. And so the same courtesy should be afforded to those people who specifically don't want to buy halal meat. It shouldn't be left to chance or pot luck what they buy, and it should be made perfectly clear on the label. It's to everybody's advantage if you want to buy it or you particularly don't want to buy it. It's to everybody's advantage that it's clearly labelled so that consumers can make an informed decision and then retailers can respond to that informed choice.
Respond to that.
Yes, the issue is that it was not Muslims' call to introduce this labelling. It was the other sector's choice or call, because they were more concerned about animal welfare. It was all about animal welfare that we were talking about. It was all about the cruelty of inhumane slaughter, in ritual slaughter that we were talking about. It was nothing of halal, because Muslims did not say, okay, we need labeled halal meat, because if you do the same, then Food Standards Agency have to define halal. What is halal? Halal word is not covered by EU legislation, I'm afraid, but kosher may be. So first we have to define halal, and then we can influence, and then we can say, okay, we can introduce this labelling regime. But in this circumstance, in the current scenario, halal labelling doesn't exist, and it will not be unless and until it is determined what is halal. And FSA and DEFRA, and I would say UK government have indicated in the past, and we have been given to understand that they do not want to take part in this, because they want this matter to be privately sorted out within the community.
Philip Davis, is that potentially a problem? Problems like definitions. It's interesting also, just reading the views of the British Veterinary Association. They too think actually the definition that most consumers want to know information about is this difference between whether an animal has been stunned or not stunned in the killing process. Is that what you also have in mind on your labels?
Well, no, as I made clear at the start, it's not just about the animal welfare, it's also about the blessing that's given to it that other religions also object to, and I think that we should be mindful of their requests as well.
Yes,
we can't have it both ways. You can't say that kebab shops.
I mean, everybody has got no issues with halal meat if halal is stunned. If that meat is derived as stunned, and if that conforms to all animal welfare regulations, then nobody has got any bother whether prayer has been said or not, and that's what our.
Well, Philip Davis is saying that people do have a problem with it. Some people.
Yes, some people. You're talking about minority. It might be 2-3% of the population if you're referring to, but we don't believe it is the case.
Well, I'm quite surprised that we've got a Muslim representative who says that we shouldn't be mindful of minorities in this country. It's a quite extraordinary state of affairs that he thinks that Muslims should be able to know everything that they want to know about the way that their meat is killed and how it's produced, but nobody else should have the right, and that to me is completely and utterly unacceptable, and everybody should have the same rights in this country to make an informed choice as to whether they want to buy it
or not. If it was Muslims concerned, that would have been raised 10, 15, 20 years ago when halal was introduced in this country, more than 25 years ago. But it was not the case. All labelling issue came up as a result of this animal welfare compromises that could have been seen anywhere in the world, and that was made an issue out of it, and then everybody said, okay, we need to see if it is a stunt or not stunt. Everything was about animal welfare in this issue. There was no prayers, there was no flowing blood, and there was no other issues that were initially mentioned anywhere in this literature, I would say. I do not believe that.
Just a final quick thought with you, Philip Davis. In terms of the knock-on, you say that you're going to have another go at trying to get this onto the statute books. In terms of retailers, is there any implications for the consumer in terms of cost? If the supermarkets, for example, have to have two separate processes, is there likely to be an implication for consumers in that particular area?